All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the morning brief. Today is August 18th of 2020. If you're catching us on a replay, thanks for checking us out. You can ask for a free trial with me at Steve at otot.now, and you can come in for a week or so and check it out personally. But basically, we have an investment forum here set up with myself kind of leading the show. What you don't see is a chat room as well as a question and answer room where other squadron members can hop in and ask questions, as well as go ahead and put stuff in the chat room, and I will answer questions, talk to the different folks, the different things people want to bring up, and we can go from there. So thanks for checking us out. Again, memberships are also available at otot.com/store if you want to join. Today, we're going to invest with military precision. Make sure you have your windows set up appropriately. Again, we use call signs so you can be completely anonymous in the room out there. For our mission objectives today, we're going to grow our money, protect our money, and live off our money. Today, we're looking to grow our money through going over the discount retailers that are out there. So when you think of that, you've got your mainstreamers, your Walmarts, your Amazons. This is that next echelon down. People that stand to benefit from the, COVID-19, a little less money going around for everybody. So a little more folks going in through the discounters. And the question today is going to be how to roll over your 401k and TSP. I will cover that at the end of the morning after I'm done with all of your questions. So if you have a question, pop in there, ask your question, and I will answer it. As far as the flow, we're going to go long, short, open, short, long. What that means is we're going to focus predominantly today on long-term names. We're going to start with a market review, go around the world. We're going to do a headline review, see what's going on this morning. Then we're going to talk about our 6 names, which you can see there on the page, 5 of which are individual stocks, and then RTH is an index fund. So where if you don't want to pick individual stocks, you can just simply hop over the index fund and go from there. From there, once we get 10 minutes within the market open, we're going to switch to day trading. We're going to talk about names that are going both short and long in accordance with our day trading algorithm that we use. We're looking for 100,000 shares in volume. We're looking at gapping up or down 5 or 10%, and then it's a gap and go strategy where we take it in the direction of the gap for a continuation. So that'll be our short-term day trading stuff. We'll wrap that up a few minutes after the open, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll go back to the long-term investments where I'll finish up with the chat, finish up with your question and answer, and then go on into my question of the day. If you have any issues this morning, log in to or send me an email at steve@otot.now. otot.now.com, and my staff is standing by to help you get into the room. And of course, standard disclaimer applies that this is an educational briefing every single day, so you have to do your own due diligence before you act upon anything you hear this morning. With that, let's go ahead and go up to the TD Ameritrade presentation. This is called Think Pipes. And again, what we're looking at is a 1-year review of the SPY or the S&P 500 is what you're seeing there. You know about the big dip down all the way down to the March 23rd lows, the V-shaped recovery that we've had, and we continue to truck higher. So a little red candlestick yesterday, but we did, so it closed. That means, again, it closed lower than where it opened, but overall it was an up day. You can see that we're kind of leveling off. So when you get that leveling off in a chart, that generally means the market's kind of running out of steam. However, this morning we're in the green again, and we just got a fantastic jobs number. So kind of, jobs number, housing starts number. We'll get to that in a minute. It's housing starts. Thank you. But you can see we're getting really close to that 339.08 level, which would mark the all-time high for the S&P 500. As you know, things tend to break records when they get close to them, especially in markets, because everybody gets all excited, and that's what I think will happen today. Eventually, we're going to have that big red day. Don't know when it's coming, but you should be prepared for it. Let's check out the QQQ real quick. This is the NASDAQ chart. Again, it's been a little bit more on fire. You can see it blew out its new highs back a couple months ago and continues higher. So these are our tech names. So it's got a little choppy recently. I expect those AI trend lines to kind of level off here a little bit. But again, when you're investing for the long term, 5, 10, 20 years down the road, you want to be in tech. It's high margin. It changes the world. That's where you want to have at least a decent amount of your money. We'll go back to the SPY real quick, and then we're going to focus in on the last 5 days. What you see are the dark blue are the actual days itself, and then the light purple in between are the aftermarket hours. So you can kind of see kind of flat yesterday. did end up down a little bit from where it opened, but what you can see is in after hours, it kind of trucked up last night. Last night was the Democratic convention, so that was all over TV and news. So you had, Michelle Obama spoke, you had Bernie Sanders speak. Tonight's going to be Bill Clinton, AOC, and some other names out there. So again, during this time, again, half of the country, since we're split basically in half, is going to start getting really excited about candidate Biden. So that's where you're going to see some optimism in the air. Again, Democrats will go first, Republicans will go later, and then we head on into the election. All right, let's focus in on the calendar for earnings. Some earnings out this morning are basically the ones we talked about yesterday, and it's Home Depot. So what I say yesterday, geez, Home Depot's could probably crush earnings and go higher. And this morning we wake up and Home Depot crushed earnings and is going higher. So pretty impressive as far as what they've been able to do. Some other earnings out there, Walmart beat earnings, that's no surprise. Kohl's, which is a name we'll talk about here in a little bit, also beat earnings, actually crushed earnings, and the stock is lower. Some of you know, you've heard me talk about Kohl's in the past couple of market days. I am a buyer here. There was significant concern that they are going to sell off, cut their dividend. I'm not concerned about that. They would have done that already if they were going to, and it now pays 11% on the dividend. So really the stock should double to get back to where it is normal. We shall see. But I do like that name. All right, let's go ahead and take a look around the world. We're going to go back to our CNBC display this morning. We're going to refresh our futures, and you are going to see that the market is in the green across the board again, with kind of tech leading the way. So let's go ahead and check Europe. Europe was mixed last time I looked, and indeed they are trying to find their way into the green across the board. Asia was mixed as well, so not a whole lot of movement. We've been seeing, plus or minus 2% out of China on most days. It's nice to have that kind of settle down for a little bit. So we shall see. Let's check out yesterday's action. Again, down in the red. NASDAQ 1% in the green, VIX kind of unchanged there. So again, I'm expecting once the market does, we talked about that leveling off. Once we do have that big down day, then the VIX is going to spike. Some of you have the VXX as a holding. Again, that's more of a short-term play on the increased volatility that I anticipate. Okay, over to bonds. Creeping up to 0.7%, woohoo, all the way on our 10-year. So that's pretty good. Remember, we were down to 0.55% not too long ago. So the bond market continuing to heal is a good thing for everybody. Over in oil, the price of oil is holding 42 and change pretty steadily for some time now, so that's good. Nat gas continues up. Remember, that was down at $1.67 near its lows here a couple months ago. So again, healing across the board there. And then over into everything was in the green last time I checked as far as the precious metals. Oh, except for palladium, doesn't want to play. But if you look at gold and silver, again, nice big moves up there. Gold's getting close to regaining its highs of 2000 and change there. All right, we'll go back to the main page, refresh real quick, and go on into our headlines for today. All right, we talked about Walmart and Home Depot, strong earnings. All right, let's scroll down. E-commerce sales jumps 97%. Is that good? Yeah, that's good. They took a fresh double on that. So yeah, pretty good stuff there. And then you see Home Depot, 23% do-it-yourself projects. Again, I do remember when my youngest daughter walked into the room right at the beginning of the COVID-19 thing. They shut down schools. Everybody's at home, and she goes, "Dad, I want to paint my room." And literally, that was when I was thinking, you know what? Home Depot and Lowe's are both poised to gain significantly because of all the home projects that people are going to do when they're stuck at home. So there's our Kohl's bullet. Shares jump. What? That's not what I saw last. So I'm going to check that on another one to see where Kohl's is at. But they did beat earnings pretty significantly, so I was surprised earlier. So let's see what I can find here on another screen. They were off 4% earlier. I don't see it. We will check it. Yeah, they're still off. What are they talking about jumping? I wish they were jumping. We've already owned a bunch of it. So we shall see. All right. Talked about the Democratic National Convention. Oracle is now talking about acquiring TikTok. So it was Microsoft, then it was Apple saying if Microsoft doesn't buy TikTok, then now it's Oracle saying we're going to go in and buy them. So obviously there's a cult-like following in TikTok. So whoever does buy it for the U.S. stands to gain significant eyeballs on app, at least for the younger generation. So not a bad move. All right, 19th Amendment. Don't know why that's in the news necessarily, but again, that was women's right to vote. So article just about the election coming up. Talked about Warren Buffett and gold yesterday. We can scroll on up here. Yeah, I think if we were going to hit the record today, it'd probably be the time. We've been close to it enough over the past few days to where I think the good housing market with the strong earnings out of retailers could take us higher. There's the housing starts surged 22.6% in July. Again, that's a little bit of a lagging number, but that's a huge gain. There's Michelle Obama again talking last night about the cold hard truth about how Donald Trump is not prepared to lead the country, even though he's been doing it for 3.5 years. Amazon adding jobs, and Apple. Yeah, Apple and Tesla are both creeping up on their stock splits. Again, we are a couple weeks away from that. But when that happens, whatever number of shares, say you have 1,000 shares, that you now have 4,000 shares, and the stock price will be 1/4 of that. Obviously, Apple's closing in on the 2 trillion mark as far as their market cap. Their stock is kind of stalled out around 460, which it does need to take a breather for sure. It can't just continue higher. And then Tesla, of course, is breaking new highs every day, off to 1,800 and change yesterday. So it was already up this morning, like 3% pre-market. So again, the Tesla cult following is strong out there. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at FinViz. We're going to look at Kohl's first. Like I talked about, they're selling off this morning. But there's the chart. So what do I like about this chart? Well, I don't like the big downtrend that it's in, but things don't stay in downtrends forever. So it was really in a downtrend up at 55, missed earnings back in November. So kind of before the world went cray-cray, they dropped down significantly from 58 to 48 or so, tried to recover, got hit on earnings again in January, and then basically sold off into March and kind of never really recovered. So again, are they poised to recover? Yes, not only because of people like discount retailers in times like this, also people their dividend, again, it was up at 11%. It's not showing there, but again, 11% is a huge dividend for a stock like this, so they should be able to recover fairly quickly, I think, over time, but we shall see. They tried back in June, got up to almost 30, then dropped back down below 20, so I like the entry point here. It's not best of breed. It's not a long-term buy and hold forever sort of thing, but it's certainly a trade for going higher. It does have a short float of almost 16%, so there are people betting that it goes out of business. However, I don't think it will because of the relationship with Amazon, and if anything, Kohl's have struggled tremendously. I think Amazon would go in and buy out Kohl's. They already have the relationship in place, and that's largely they could just turn those stores into distribution centers and be right back on their feet. So, all right, good question there. Popping up in the Q&A. I will get to that after we get through our morning work. All right, let's take a look at Schwab Street Smart Edge. In the upper left there, you have Kohl's. We've already talked about that, dropping all the way down there. The next one you have over in the upper right is Five Below, another one pretty popular, and you could see it has Kohl's is basically, when you look at all 6 of these charts, Kohl's is the only one that hasn't recovered. That's why I think there's a lot more upside. Five Below has recovered kind of back to where it was, basically a double off the bottom. It got down below 55, and now it's at 111. Overstock.com is another one we talked about earlier in the week on how the stock has been on fire, and that is just an incredible chart there for Overstock. Again, that one is when you don't have the storefront, that saves you a lot of money. Everybody else up here has a storefront that they have to pay those bills on. So you can see the difference. So that's why I, as a business owner of 2 businesses, don't have a storefront because I don't want to have to pay $8,000 in rent to have my chart look flat like this. Dollar Tree is the next one. So you can see Dollar Tree, and then lower left is Dollar General. Dollar General significantly outpacing Dollar Tree. And I like Dollar General a little bit better myself. Dollar Tree stores seem to be just a little bit dirtier. They're a little bit more when you go in. So that's largely due to a management push there from Dollar General to make their stores look a little bit better. And then you see lower left Dollar General again, 160 into March. They barely got hit going into March, and then really now up at 200. So that's a tribute to their management. So of those two, I would say Dollar General's your best. The last one is called RTH. This is an index fund. So if you don't want to try to get in here and pick out the best of breed, you can go with RTH, which stands for Retail Holdings. Now, this does have everybody. This has your Amazons and your Walmarts in addition to all the discounters. So pretty much has retail recovered? Yeah, I think so. People that are stuck home are looking for ways to spend money when they get released. So we've been on somewhat release for a while. So trucking back higher as far as the retail earnings. And we have, I know it's a little too early to talk about Christmas, but when you think of product cycles, when you think of like Apple, September, generally September, October-ish is when all their new products get released, build the hype through the roof. Everybody gets their iPhone 12, almost everybody. And then we go, continue to build the hype on into the sales into December. And then in January is when you get those reports. So I think this could be a banner year for the retailers. So not a bad place to put some dollars. Okay, let's go ahead and switch to some short-term stuff. This is where we're going to look at our day trading opportunities for today. There's your Kohl's while we have it up there, just 23.45, gapping down to 22. We'll see if there's a number associated with that. 4.4% is what I'm seeing there. So that would almost fit our criteria. Don't go in and short that, but it's almost setting up for a short, but it was a positive headline out there. All right, as far as our long name, you can see that in the chart there. My staff came up with that. Let's go ahead and take a look at SE, which is C Limited. I do not know what they do, but they meet our criteria. You can see 600,000 in shares, and they are gapping up. 134 up to 148. Let's see. It's an earnings release. They reported a quarterly loss per share of 0.68. So again, to get your mind straight, how can a company be losing money and their stocks shares go higher? Well, kind of like Kohl's was anticipated to lose 82 cents and they lost 28 cents. So weird way, losing money is a good thing, right? Same thing here with C. They're probably pretty young. Singapore-based digital entertainment company. Unit increased, revenue increased 67%. Active users increased. Okay, so a lot of good things there for them gapping higher. Looking at their chart, they have been up above 145 before, so it'd be a little tough to see if they have a 3R move to run, but certainly we will take a look at. As far as long and short names around the market, we're going to go through here and try to pick some out. You saw yesterday's trade was a short, and it worked. Last week we had another trade that worked short that was 3Rs. It's tough to get 3Rs to the upside, even though the market is trending higher, just because everything's run up so much. So I'm really trying to pick out a short out of all this for us to get a trade in, because the shorts are the ones where you can get that 3R, as well as if the market does ever roll over, then that's going to bring the popularity in the short. So if the market continues trucking higher today on good news, we might not get an opportunity for a day trade out there. All right, switching over now to the top 10 in volume. Sorrento's been in play. It doesn't quite meet our criteria, but go ahead and pull out the chart there. I saw a headline on them earlier today. They've been selling off pretty hard, but again, their headline's not up there. 1210 up to 1258. So the headline was approximately, somebody said Sorrento could have enough vaccine for everybody out there. So they're able to produce in mass. That doesn't mean they have it. It's just that the headline was they were able to do that, if you would. So they have lots of room to run higher here. So I kind of like this chart since they've sold off all the way from 21 down to 12. So gapping from 1210 to 1250, 1260, excuse me, that could definitely have a 3R move higher. So we'll keep a look at Sorrento. And obviously it's in play because all the volume number 4 leader overall. NEO, not much there. Coal's now down 6%. Off of the 4% from earlier. So coal's selling off. We're not going to touch that. Tesla, there's Tesla up 4%. Go ahead and pull the Tesla chart because this is kind of just crazy to look at. You know, I've been wrong here and I continue to be wrong, but at least I'm consistent. 1835 is where it closed yesterday, up over 19. That's new highs. Fifth consecutive day of gains. Pinduoduo, there's a tiff with them in China. I can't remember what the exact headline was, but obviously nobody cares because the stock keeps going higher. So take it at your own risk. All right, let's look at Grow Generation Corp. Again, this is one of our names we looked at yesterday, GRWG, for a long, and they're almost parabolic in the chart there, but it ran up all the way to. Go ahead and zoom in a little bit on there. So you see yesterday where it closed and it ran all the way up to 1950. It's at 18 right now. I know the chart doesn't show it. But does that have enough to continue going higher? I don't know. If I remember, well, I can't remember what they did. It wasn't the Chinese learning company, but so anyhow, take that one at your own risk. It doesn't quite meet our parameters, but it is definitely in play. All right, let's go to the next tab. There's our SE that we're looking about. It's actually continuing to gap up now at the 10% level. We'll keep an eye on that. Advanced Auto Parts, a little low on volume. Go ahead and pop that in there, though. It meets our 5 to 10 criteria, gapping up. Results were good. $2.74 per share. Advanced Auto beat by 95%. That's a little bit lower there. So that's pretty good. Yep, thank you. That's what I was going to ask for, to back the chart out a little bit. So I've been hanging between 135 and 150. Pull FinViz. I'm looking on another screen. Pull FinViz for AAP. I'm looking to see what their price to earnings ratio is. It's 29 right now. It's scheduled to be 18. Pay a little bit of a dividend. Not many people short in this name. Auto Parts. Okay, well, we'll take a look at it. Again, we'll have to wait for the volume a little bit, but I certainly like the name. Don't know if it can power higher. We shall see. There's Tesla. We've talked about. Teladoc's another name that's been in play. Let's go ahead and click on that. So again, sold off. If you think the kind of the general investing principle here is Teladoc, so everybody's getting their, as much as possible. You were going online with your doctor during the COVID-19 time, so to be able to get your healthcare at home was pretty impressive. So obviously it ran up to 255. That's what, 2 weeks ago, dropped all the way down to 185, and people are buying it again. No real news. That's more of just a continuation, but it's something for us to keep an eye on. This morning. I like the name Long. I'm not in it. I may have to look at an entry point here, so I'll make a note for it later. NVIDIA has been in play. You know that. Don't need to pull that chart. And the others are not moving as much. Let's see if we can find anything on the way down. Again, we'll look at a couple pages here. We'll get the other one ready while I'm talking about what's going on. All right, not familiar with PST. X moving down 27%. Nothing else meets volume. Neighbors, Agora, Intercept Pharma. Pull up Intercept Pharma, see if we can get a headline off of that. It's the next one up. ICPT. Form S8. Try to scroll, see if I don't, maybe it won't scroll. It looks like we got nothing down here. Pull up an API, see if we can get a headline there. Okay, there's Neighbors thrown into this, as well as Agora. So it's upgrades, downgrades, some different coverages. Not much to go off of on that. All right, I'll put them in the notes just to see if we can find something. Those are headlines. Not a real strong, don't have that big earnings miss that we found just yet. UBX, again, pulling this in off another screen. They do meet the criteria and they're down 8%. So let's see what we got. Disappointing earnings. I like that. So we've got API, we already talked about. And then this one is UBX. So gapping from 415 down to 385. This is one of these where you can get in kind of heavy and kind of scalp it. Go ahead and swing this down a little bit here, see what we can find. Again, looking for UBX to pop off the page. There it is, downgraded to neutral from buy at Citigroup and downgraded to equal weight Morgan Stanley. So there's our downgrade. This one fits the number. So we're going to put it up there. This will be our primary short. Not in love with it at all. So don't get crazy with the cheese whiz as far as shorting into this. But look how far it's fallen in past couple days. Yeah, people are selling hard. So can expect that to continue. All right, let's we got close in on 3.5 minutes to go. Let's look at the next tab. There's our SE we talked about. We'll have that up on one of the pages. Silver, gold in play. Barrett Gold still gapping long. GOLD, if you want to take that, we'll just put that in the notes. Not gonna trade it, but check back on it. IGT, another long name. All right, let's look at the last tab. Rackspace, hit that one. It was RXT long. Again, is a look at Amazon's talking about buying out Rackspace yesterday. So that was that knowledge. All right, let's go ahead and get set up on our other screen. All right, we are going to go with on the left side here. Once we get, again, this is TD Ameritrade that we're going to set up. Let's go ahead and put SE off of earnings in the left-hand panel. We'll put AAP in the middle panel, and then we'll put UBX in the right-hand panel. So this is, again, as you're looking at it, long, short, and we will get set up for the open. Looking at different entry points here and what I want for the stop. So 2 minutes to go to the open. Looking at the overall market, coming in a little bit, but still hanging out in the green. So it'll be interesting to watch the market open. I anticipate from the housing starts that the market will open higher, but we are due for the big red day. So SE is a long, so 148, bouncing around one. So a lot of congestion right at 148 here. So with that price point, you generally want to have a dollar stop, but a dollar looks pretty safe here. So you might go down to 60 cents or 50 cents. We'll keep an eye on that. AAP, again, is low vol. They were at 40,000 shares of trading, so we'll need to let the volume rush into AAP. I would want it to come in, actually drop back down to that 169 level really before I take it long. That one may just shoot straight up. It's hard to tell without the volume how it's really going to act. As far as the UBX, that's just a continual bloodbath from 417 down to 386. We're going to look at that first. So go ahead and set your tickers and your trades up for UBX short. In a perfect world, I would like for it to back up to around, 394 or so, but we may not get that. If it gets back up to 390, they're being voice activated. If it gets back up to 390 or so at the open and then starts to sell off, I would like that. So we shall see. All right, here we go. 30 seconds to the market open for today's play of the day. You see 4 screens on TD Ameritrade's Think Pipes. On the far left, we have the SPY, so we can watch the overall trend of the market as it opens. On the upper left screen, we have SE. That's going to be a long. Again, that's off of earnings. AAP off of earnings. We're also looking long with probably dollar stops in those, waiting on volume in AAP. And then off to the right is our short. So have your ticker set up for UBX. We're going to try to take that short if we get an entry, and there is our opening bell. So UBX is what we're watching right now to see what we can get. I like that. We do have to give it a second though and let the volume come rushing in. All right, that was pretty good. So I'm going to take it at 390 short if it hits. It has not hit yet, so we're waiting for that trigger. So at 390, and then we're going to use a 5-cent stop. So there it hit, just touched 390. Let's put our stop in up at 395. And again, that'll be, we're looking for 15 cents to the downside. There's our arrow to show which way we're taking it. So let's do our quick math. So 3R to the downside will be 395 down to 375. So 3.8 will be 2R. So if it starts getting down in that range, we will draw those in there. I'm really liking this setup. So we had that kind of doji up all the way to 394. As soon as you took the trade, you saw that it almost stopped us out. Boy, that would have been a punch to the face right in the morning. But the way it's bouncing around right now, I'm not worried about it. Overall, market is going higher. So I'd like to see the market sell off a little bit. And there we're out. So they're minus 1R in our short trade this morning. So we'll transition to the long. Looking over at SE, let's zoom in on SE a little bit. All right, again, looking long here, 148 down to 147. Looks like there's a buyer at 147. Remember, I talked about if it continually bounces off a level, that means there's a buyer there. So we'd be looking at $1 stop. If we weren't down in R, I would take the trade at 148 going long. Since we're down in R, though, I'm a little more cautious this morning. So if you're anxious to trade, take it at 148 and go long. I'm not going to personally do that. I would rather see us come back down to 147 and bounce a couple times. So that'd be an entry point if you're anxious to trade. We don't need to draw that up there. 148 would be up to basically you would need a $3 stop, so up to all the way to 151. We don't need to draw it because we're going to surf around, but that would be how that trade's setting up. AAP, not a lot of volume, so I would not get in this. It did have 70,000 shares in the first minute, so it's got the momentum. So hey, there's our SE going long. Missed that entry because I said not to take it, but if you did take it, it went all the way up to 3R, so you should be out. Taking your 3R gain there from SE. Back to AAP, kind of watching that. It's not really setting up again. That would be a long. So Advanced Auto Parts, kind of hard to get behind that thesis, even after beating earnings. So, all right, looking over at the overall market is strong and going higher. Looking on a different screen, Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P all into the green. Dow barely into the green. I pulled up Tesla off to the right-hand side there just to show you how crazy strong this is. I wouldn't be shocked if that stupid thing went up and touched 2,000 today. I mean, it is just kind of crazy. So, all right, so we busted out of our first trade. We didn't take our second one. That would have worked with SE long. So it shows you how strong this market is going higher. I do not like to trade long, so I need it really pretty good in order to take it. So in the middle pane, we'll keep Tesla flopping around there on the right-hand side. In the middle pane, we'll kind of surf around a little bit. Let's pull up a SRNE. This is another name we looked at long. This is Sorrento Therapeutics. Again, this is a headline, so it's not really setting up for long. It's actually setting up for a short, to be honest. Even though it's up 3%, that's exactly what you're looking for, that congestion up at the top there at that 1250 range to go short. So, but we're not going to go short because it gapped up and that doesn't fit our philosophy. All right, let's look at GRWG in that middle pane. Again, this was growth gen something, I don't remember it. Again, it was setting up as a long. Opened up at 18.8, so it gapped up. That's what you don't want. If you're playing along in 2 minutes prior to the open, it moves up, 50 cents for you. That generally means you're not gonna take that trade because it's just too much of a move. At that point, you just have to go, hey, I missed it, and go on about your day. All right, Advanced Auto Parts we already looked at. SE continues to kind of scream higher there. Good for it. Another long name, Teladoc, TDOC. That might have worked. It would have been $1, probably $1.50 stop, so you wouldn't have quite that 450 move out of it. Higher. But this is pretty strong name. Remember, this was if you back the chart out, I think it was up around what 250 or so not too long ago. So yeah, I mean, this has got room to move higher. Again, I had that starred for, I'm going to take a look at that as far as a long-term investment thesis. I'm not buying a whole lot long-term right now, but if I would buy, if we get that sell-off that I think we're going to get going into the election, Teladoc is a name I'm going to have on my radar scope. IGT was gapping up 3.5%. Let's put that in the middle pane, check it out. This is international gaming technology, not really moving a whole lot and low volume, and it's not gapping up. But type that in again, IGT, but don't hit enter. Normally the name pops up, so try it again. Thank you, and then yeah, put it back in. See what international game, yep. There you go. It's showing it was up 3.5% earlier. Obviously, that is a nothing burger right there. All right, GOLD is Barrick Gold. This is the name. Ooh, so coming back in a little bit, still up on the day, but again, this is Barrick Gold. That's a name that Warren Buffett moved in. So that'd be something to consider for a long-term play. I don't necessarily like gold as an investment, but a lot of people do, and I honor that. And if people want gold in their portfolio, this is one way to do it. All right, some short names we looked at out there. Let's check back on UBX and see how it ended. There's our drawing. So yeah, it just busted us out, and then look at that. It's going to go on to work for the day probably. So we used a 5-cent stop. 7 would not have been safe. 10 would have been safer. But if you're taking a stock at 390 with a 10-cent stop, that means it's going to have to go all the way down to 360 to get your 3 Rs. I don't see it ended up in 360. But when you look at a delayed entry, that's what you like to see. Those big dojis running up, look like hairs off the head there. When you get those, an entry point, if you would have taken it at the 5-minute point, would be wait for it to come back down to about 391 and then take it there. So either way, you'd be in the same place, but you'd have a tighter stop if you were if you'd taken a delayed entry here. So we'll check back on that a little bit later. It gets a check mark. NBR short. This was a headline. Again, it was a downgrade. NBR, sorry, Bravo. Don't know what they do. They were down, 8%. So it's kind of filling that gap. Not a lot of volume, so not worth really looking at again. And API was exactly the same case. Again, don't know what they do, but they took a downgrade. So there you can see they're off by 4%. That was an interesting open. So when it ran up to 470, sold 40.70, went down $1.60, all the way down to basically 39, and now back higher. There's some people into that name trading it, obviously. So plenty of movement there for traders. Okay, let's go ahead and look at. We'll go over to charts and look at kind of now switching out of our day trading theme into our long-term investing theme. And I'll get to your question burner here in a minute. But overall, we're looking at the Dow up 0.06, NASDAQ up 2/3, and SPY up 1/3, and kind of holding steady there. All right, LCA, that's a special acquisition company that I've been in for a while. It's been moving up 2 to 3% a day. I still cannot catch a headline on when they're going to IPO, but it's going to be the IPO for GNOG, which is Golden Nugget online gaming. So you can kind of see the steady march up there for the past 4 days. So somebody knows something, and it's going higher. Speaking of somebody knowing something, remember Kodak, the camera company that got the 700 plus bid? Look at this house of pain. So not only did they lose the contract that they got that took their stock from $2.50 to touching 60, more realistically down into the 40s, where it kind of hung out for a while. Now it's down at 7. Yeah, not only did they lose the contract, we're probably looking at some dudes going to jail. So kids, don't do insider trading. It's not worth it. You're going to jail and you don't get to keep the money. So, I mean, it's just like, don't do it. There's enough money to be made in the world without trying to cheat your way to making it. And that's the case study for doing it. So, all right, let's get rid of those fools and back to looking at some long-term names. BOSQF is obviously you can just throw the SPY back in. BOSQF is obviously a psychedelic name. NEO is your Chinese EV. CRM is Salesforce. They're moving up. Tesla up 2.42%. Again, moving up over 1900 today. Amazon's up a couple of percent. That's always nice. Clickstream, penny stocks in play a little bit. Palo Alto Networks. So a lot of good, strong names at the top of the chart and a lot of technology, which you know we like. Let's move over to what's not doing well today. Goals, 11%. Well, I said we're not going to short it. When you look at 11% when it opened down 5% or 6%, yeah, that was there's your 3-hour short is right there out of Kohl's. So that's a little bit of pain. Let's see. Looks like Luckin Coffee is going to go into the big screen. Let's see how Luckin's doing today. Up a penny. That's like almost a win. Obviously, you've seen it move up over the past couple days. So, yikes! There's the big chart for you. We'll see how Luckin does. It's going to basically, I anticipate it trading sideways on into the next quarter for its earnings release. I mean, it'll stay between $2 and $3 is what I anticipate. All right, other names selling off. Blink down 4%. That's not good for us. You know, it's a long name we like. DOC is Doc. That's Physician Realty, off a little bit. And then Home Depot off after a big move up yesterday. But as you look at it, only, what's that, 20 names that are in the red there. So that's pretty nice. Overall market continues higher. Okay, let's go ahead and pull up our trading chart here. Again, we'll talk about the chat. And yeah, that SE. So yeah, if you were in it, you could have captured 3R, maybe up to 4R or 5R. But then it would turn around and give it all back. So that's why you don't stay in your trades very long. All right, Tesla's back below 1900. Okay, let's look through the chat. Again, you guys are pretty quiet this morning. Morning burner. Let's see. And as far as questions, all right. Excuse me. Sorry to sneeze in your ear there. All right, how do future options work with the stock split 4-to-1 like an Apple? Okay, so you're referring to options and not necessarily futures there. So to make sure everybody's clear on the question. So if you have Apple, like Berner's asking here, and you have options above it, so a covered call, if you will. Well, when the stock splits, obviously if you have 100 shares in one options contract, that your shares, you're going to end up with 4 times that number of shares. So you'll end up with 400 shares, but the stock price will be 1/4. So for math, say Apple's at 440, because that makes the math easy. So instead of 100 shares at 440, you have 400 shares at 110. Okay. Again, to keep the math easy, say you had covered your Apple at 500. So Apple's at 440, your call is at 500. 2 things can happen. Well, one thing will happen, but you'll see 2 different sets of options out there. There's the pre-split options and the post-split options. So so stocks at 440, your call's at 500. August 31st, which is the trade date, the stock price is going to go to 110. Your option is going to cover at 125. So the same math happens there. Now you'll have 4 options contracts instead of 1. So that's where that can change. And then if you want to mitigate that, you can buy yourself a new one. Now, your option's going to have like an asterisk by it, meaning it was sold pre-split. There will be new options that come out that are post-split options, and those just look like regular options. So much like in baseball or football in shortened seasons, you know, those sorts of things. If you have a record, that was you hit your record in some form of non-standard season, you get an asterisk in the record books next to your name. Same thing with your option. It's going to have an asterisk next to it or some other identifier to let you know that was a pre-split option. But this is now, and then you will have 2 sets of options at every strike price, that sort of thing. So that is a good question. So we'll take a look at that. How do I, what you didn't ask is how do I expect the stock to act after the split? Let's see, got another question there. Issues with Thinkorswim? No, I'm on, remember I'm on ThinkPipes, but ThinkPipes is working perfectly. Sometimes they have issues. So your best bet there, burner, is just to call TD Ameritrade and say, hey, are you having ThinkPipe issues? One thing you can do is if you log out, there's an entry screen that you can go over to it and click configure. And under configure, go in and drop cache, if I'm saying that right, C-A-C-H-E. So click drop cache. That will get rid of, basically, it's like deleting out your cookies and then reopen Thinkorswim, and it might pop open for you. If not, call TD Ameritrade. So yes, how do I expect the stock to act after the split? I actually expect it to sell off. Here's why. It has run up too much. When you look at Apple, let's put Apple in the right-hand side up there and back it out to maybe, I don't know, 6 months or 100 days or something. Whatever we can get for a long-term chart there. Yeah, 180. So look at that move. Yeah, I know, by the way, there was a pandemic in the middle of that, right? So a year ago, it was at 280. Now it's at 460. So not quite a double, but what's that? Quick math, 60%-ish. I mean, it's just run so far so fast. People don't want to sell it right now. So there's some buying, but there's certainly not any selling, because people think that they have more money in their wallet when you take your $20 bill and turn it into $4 or $5 bills, because guess what? Their wallet just got fatter and they're rich, right? So again, it's all accounting. I do expect that people are going to, even if they were considering selling, are going to wait for the split because they're 4 times as rich. Not really, but they think they are, because they have 4 times as many shares. And that's when I think you're going to see a pretty big, massive selling point at that. Are we going to trade that? No. We're just going to sit back and watch it happen. You're going to hold your shares long, which are all probably covered up anyway. So we're just going to wait for the stock to come in, and that would be a point to buy more. I do think that timing is going to be with the timing of going on into the month of September, which again, 2 months out from the election, and September's generally a down month. So that's kind of what I expect to happen. We shall see. Tesla for sure is going to sell off. Now, I've said that a million times, and I've been wrong a million times exactly. So I bet 100%, just in the wrong way, on Tesla. So we'll watch Tesla as well. They both split on the same day, so it'll give us something to do there. Okay, good questions. Thank you for being active in the chat. Everybody else, you can feel to hop on in with Burner and comment. How do you drop cash? Real quick, if you log all the way out and then go to your login screen, you should be able to see a little square there that says configure. Click on configure, it'll give you a menu, and at the bottom of that menu is drop cash. And then just clear out all that, log back in, and give it a go. So, all right, got 12 minutes left. I'm going to transition into the question of the day. So give me a second here to get my materials ready. Okay, today's question of the day is how to roll over your 401k/TSP. So once you've made that decision, which is again a whole nother topic, but once you've made the decision to roll it over, there are certain things you need to do to be able to make it happen. If you're working with an advisor or doing it yourself, I'll talk about both scenarios. But if you're working with an advisor, such as me, just call your advisor or email or message them and say, hey, I want to roll over my 401k. And then your advisor is going to help you out from there. The biggest thing you're going to need is your previous 401k statement, which is going to tell you what kind of 401k you have. So you may have entirely the kind of the old school traditional 401k, which means money that you put into that 401k, you're getting a tax break on. So you can take that money, and that money rolls over into an IRA, traditional IRA, which is just the IRA. Now, you may have a Roth 401k out there, and now that money, which is separate, that money you've not gotten a tax break on, so that when that money rolls over, but you've already paid taxes on it, so it goes into your Roth IRA. So generally, you can think of 2 buckets of money, and both are going to roll over into different IRAs out there. So for that to happen, it's basically 2 different transfers. So if you call your advisor, then you want to say, hey, I want to roll this over. I have both components. Send your advisor the statement. They'll back you up, make sure you're doing the right thing, and then you can go from there. If you're doing it on your own, then you have to look at your statement. If you have both components, the IRA and the Roth, then you need to talk to your custodian, which is, Vanguard, Fidelity. I use Schwab, which is best of breed, and TD Ameritrade out there. So any of these places that can have you need to open an IRA if you don't have it already, and you need to open a Roth IRA, because those are the accounts. Basically, you're setting up the receiving accounts. So if you don't have those already open, you need to go through the process of opening those, which generally can take a day. And you can go right to schwab.com and do that on your own if you're a do-it-yourselfer. Once you have those accounts open, now to make the transfer happen, you have to do it as the former employee. Remember, you can't do this with a 401k of the place you're still working. It has to be your former employer. But say you used to work at Dairy Queen and now you work at Dell, you can take your Dairy Queen 401k and transfer. So you would call up, you look at your statement and find the administrator number or website on there. And there's two ways to do it. Some of the more advanced 401k administrators, you're able to go right online and be able to make the transfer. There will be a transfer here and you put your information in. Say you have Schwab accounts, you'll go, I have a Schwab IRA and this is the account number and here's where I want the money to come across for my traditional 401k. And the same thing, you would have, here's my Schwab Roth IRA. You would have that account number as well, and the money would move over from Roth to Roth, basically. So you can do that on your own over the website if they allow it. Now, you may have to call the custodian. If you call the custodian, sometimes they can do it electronically for you, just over the phone, which is a win, and sometimes they will send you a check in the mail. So let's talk about that scenario. If you talk to your custodian, say it's Fidelity, and they send you checks in the mail, you get a specific check for your traditional IRA, and you get another check for your Roth IRA. When you get those checks, do not pass go, don't do anything with them until you look something up. If you're working with an advisor, ask your advisor. If not, look online, and what you're going to find out is how to make out those checks. Those checks are going to be, or how to endorse those checks. The checks will be made out to you. So if you're going to Schwab, the check will be to Schwab, FBO, for benefit of, and then your name, and then the account number. So that's how the front of the checks will be made out. On the back of the check, when you flip it over to endorse it, you will want to write the same sort of thing. You'll sign it and say for deposit only to, and then put Schwab account number, and then double check, make sure you have the correct one, and should match the front. So kind of a double catch there, if you will. The front should be right, and then the back should be right with your account number on both. If you get a check and the account number is not on the front, simply write it into the memo section. So it's on both the front and the back. We used to be able to take those checks, walk into Schwab, and be able to just have it processed real time. Now, of course, with most of the branches closed, you can't do that. So now you have to put them in the mail. For whatever custodian is, just Google it, what is the mail deposit address, and you can find that address, and then you will mail those checks in. Now, once you mail that check in, give it about 4 days, they will get the checks, they will deposit them, and you'll see them in your new account. And at that point, you are rollover complete, except for what you may see is dividends coming in from your 401k, follow that in. So how that happens is if it's electronic, you'll just see deposits into your account for like the next 3 months into your IRA accounts. You'll see, $4.30, things like that. If you got a check in the mail for your rollover deposit, then you are going to get a check in the mail for that $4.30. Same sort of thing, endorse it for deposit only, and then mail it in. Or if you can find a branch that's open, then you'll want to do that. So again, that's how you do the rollover. You have to to review, you have to open the accounts on the other end first, get them ready, and then send that in. Now for thrift savings plan, it is a little bit different. There's a special form. It used to be the old Form 70. It's not anymore. It's a TSP Form 99. And you can do it right on the website. It's a 6-page form. And it's going to ask you your information at the top. And then it's going to have a page where you're going to need notarized signatures. So if you don't do that a whole lot, remember, don't sign it at home, because part of the notary is they're verifying that's you when you physically sign it. So if you sign it at home, you're going to have to do it again. So don't do that. But page 2 is going to have your signatures. If you're married, you will have to have your spouse go with you because he or she will need to sign that form as well. and have their signature notarized. So again, your total cost there for most notaries, somewhere between $5 and $7. You can Google up notaries, or I generally go to the UPS store because they have a notary that's available for walk-in during their business hours. But for the thrift savings plan, you need to notarize your own signature, notarize your spouse's signature, because you can take that in annuity form, which I would not recommend to do, but that's a topic for another day. And then you're going to send that off to your advisor. So that form goes after you've done your part, goes to your advisor. They sign off of which account your money is going to go into, and then the advisor mails that off to TSP. If you're dealing with the thrift savings plan, they are kind of stuck in the 80s. So that transfer is going to take basically 3 weeks to a month for that paperwork to get processed on government time, right? So be patient. Don't get too excited. Just manage your own expectations going in. So 401ks, if you do it electronically, it'll transfer in like 3 days. If you do it by mail, it takes like almost a week. And if you do thrift savings plan, it could take up to a month. So that's all I have today for the 401k/thrift savings plan rollovers. Again, you can do it yourself or go through your advisor. But if you have any questions, please reach out to me through ototnow.com with any questions or comments. Thanks again for joining me, and here's to you fighting the good fight every day to be on time, on target with your financial goals.